Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Eden Eye Tarot. My name is Micah. I'll be your astrologer today. I hope everyone is doing well. Um, it is May 2025. That is what we are talking all about today. It might not be May 2025 exactly when this video comes out, because I'm going to try my best to get these videos out a bit early from now on, so that you guys can be prepared. And so I have been consistent with posting. And so I think I'm on a roll. I'm trying not to jinx it. And so we are going to be talking all about the astrology of May 2025. I hope that everybody has been thriving so far, and really made it through that eclipse season and post eclipse season in April. And so before we get started here, go ahead, grab your journals, planners, snacks, wine. Put me on the counter while you listen. You don't have to look at me. You just have to be here and soak up the information. I have my handy dandy notes right here so that I don't forget anything. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right on into this. So the first aspect, or the first thing that we're kind of covering with the month of May, is going to be Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries, and that's happening on May 2nd. When we see this conjunction, we're feeling like it's very much the kind of vibes of like daydreams, fantasy. It's very much having to do with romance, beauty, and all that, like imagination and fantasy, because Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. And so, but when it's in Aries, it's got a lot of heat. It's definitely giving like love at first sight energy when this conjunction is happening in Aries. It can also be just kind of like splurging on something that you really can't stop thinking about, especially because in just a couple days here, Venus will also make a sextile to Pluto, but we'll get to that in just a second. But with Venus conjunct Neptune in Aries, I just want you to remember that not everything that glitters is gold, because Neptune is not only about divine creativity and connection to the divine, it's also about deception. It's also about things that are hidden. And so just keep that in mind. Not everything that glitters is gold. When we talk about Neptunian energy in the tarot, we're talking about the Seven of Cups. And if you have ever had a reading with me, you know that's something that I always say when we see the Seven of Cups come up is that choose wisely, be discerning. And so just be mindful of that. In that, like I said, that dreamy haze really continues into May 6th when we see Venus sextile Pluto in Aquarius. When Venus sextiles Pluto in Aquarius, this is more like attraction in depth, almost to the verge of like obsession. You might feel very drawn to someone or something. And it's just very hard to ignore with this aspect in general. So just keep that in mind. We're seeing deep emotional transformations in relationships and finances with this aspect, as well as intense power dynamics and emotional breakthroughs. Focus on healing and restructuring in meaningful connections as well. It is not uncommon to see this sextile also kind of manifest as people being very hot and cold, being obsessed with you one moment and then like just ghosting you the next. And I'd say that that first week is very much like that. Even with the Venus Neptune conjunction in Aries, I think even more so, it's very easy to get into that kind of energy. And so don't be surprised if that does happen. I'm telling you now so that you can be prepared. And so, because Aquarius can be very hot and cold, and Aries is already an energy that likes to really start things and chase after things and has the pursuit of things. And it's not so great at finishing things. And Aquarius is, of course, ruled by Uranus. And so it can be a bit unstable, even though it's a fixed sign. And so it can be a little bit hot and cold. And so you just want to keep that in mind and just be very mindful of what you're fixating on or what you're being a little bit obsessive over. That reminds me, I will be at some point doing a series on the asteroid Midas throughout the signs, because I love, if anybody has ever like talked to me, I am such a nerd when it comes to talking about asteroids. And my new favorite thing is exploring um like little known asteroids like Lust, Psyche, and Midas are like my new favorite ones that I've like really been going down a rabbit hole about. And so, and Midas is an energy that's very similar, very reminiscent to this whole energy, as well as like I guess Midas and Lust combined together are like very reminiscent of this energy. And so, just keep in mind that people can come in with a lot of big gestures and a lot of romantic words and promises and things like that. But you just want to be very discerning about what you're believing and who you're believing as far as like staying power. Okay. And so we're moving on to May 10th, where we see Mercury enter into Taurus, bringing a welcome slowdown to our thoughts and communication. Um, with this ingress, expect people to be more deliberate and grounded in what they say and how they make decisions. This is really a prime time for financial talks, contracts, or making solid plans. It's also a great vibe for a great vibe for finding bargains, setting boundaries, expressing your values clearly to people. Really standing on business is kind of like the general theme that we see with Mercury entering into Taurus. Now, Mercury being in Taurus will make some aspects later that'll get quite intense. Adding to that fixed sign energy that we're seeing with Mars and Leo and Pluto being in Aquarius, it's creating a T square, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But definitely, generally on its own, Mercury entering into Taurus is very grounded and practical. As far as its approach to communication, where we were seeing before Mercury in Aries was very, very impulsive, but it's slower and more deliberate about decision making and clear thinking. We can also see a focus on finances and communication about value and stability in relationships as well. There's a lot happening on May 12th, but first we're going to talk a little bit about the full moon in Scorpio. The full moon in Scorpio will have its own separate video where I'll go in depth about the full moon in Scorpio along with horoscope for the 12 signs. I figure I should go ahead and start adding that in to my full moon and new moon videos. And so I'm finally adding that little tidbit in. And so I hope you do enjoy that. But let's just kind of get into a brief overview about the full moon in Scorpio that's happening on May 12th, first and foremost. So this full moon is going to be ruled by Mars and Leo. So it's about truth, transformation, and a little bit of drama and power plays. Something can really be hidden. Like so there are things that are kind of hidden, I think, with this full moon. Obviously, with Scorpio, it's more about bringing the hidden to the surface, digging up the stuff that's been hidden, whether it's on purpose or unintentionally. Either way, Scorpio likes to bring it up. Um, Especially when it evolves or like revolves around money, power, or leadership. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out on the world stage for sure. Since the sun is conjunct, since the sun is conjunct Uranus in Taurus, this illumination, this goodness, not illumination, this lunation is sure to shake some things up. Absolutely. um, Sorry, I almost like knocked my computer over for a second here. Excuse me. Um, it's definitely going to be full of surprises, especially in this. Like a lot of drama is what I'm saying. That T square between all of those fixed energies is definitely going to be very interesting. And like I said, the sun will conjunct Uranus later on in the month. We haven't gotten to that yet, but it'll be happening, kind of riding on the full moon in Scorpio's energy is kind of riding off of that anyway. So that week is definitely going to be one for the books. It would be good to definitely have your journals handy for that week. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of financial shakeups and potential unrest. But I think what we can expect to see the most of is like big emotional releases. If you've been holding something in, now is definitely the time to clear that air. And so just keep that in mind. And then we're also seeing Mercury square Pluto in Aquarius, I think, like I was mentioning before. So expect tension in communication, or thinking due to power struggles. Like, so a lot of debates, I expect a lot of screaming matches when it comes to leadership as well. Intense debates and confrontations regarding authority and control. Opportunities for transformation are also very much to be expected with this aspect between Mercury and Pluto. Just be mindful about obsessive thoughts, power struggles, and where you are clinging on to things, or where your mind is kind of telling you to go based on fear. Our minds can become a very scary place, especially when it comes to decision making, if we're making decisions out of fear rather than the reality of a situation. And so just be mindful of that. So next up, we have what I promised, the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And so with this aspect, this is a moment of brilliance or chaos. It could be either one, to be honest, depending on how flexible you are. Expect some unexpected encounters, creative breakthroughs, a sudden shift in your values or your routines. Basically, expect the unexpected is what I'm saying here. It's definitely a shakeup, but possibly a necessary one to really get you out of your comfort zone so that you can grow. I think this is a great aspect for growth, whether it just kind of knocks the board clean for you and it's kind of like a tower moment, or if it just really gives great inspiration for how to make more money, to bring in resources, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, or it brings you new friends or new community. I think that's definitely something that we can expect with the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And so just be mindful of that as well. On the 18th, we see Mercury square Mars in Leo. Um, the week of the 12th and the 18th brings a lot of tension and communication. So be mindful of heated debates, power struggles, or trying to force your opinion on others, because that can definitely be something that causes a lot of discord. A lot of dramatic discord. Like I said, I feel like May is kind of like the quiet storm when it comes to communication. It's a lot of knowing when to like strategically like say nothing. Um, but on the other side of that, it can very much be like a whole bunch of scream matches and pissing contests. It's what I can see with all that big sign energy. If someone's not hearing you, it may not be the time to shout louder. Like I said, it could just be the time to just kind of listen and to just nod and say, okay, got you. It does not mean that you have to yield. It just means that, if you believe in what you're saying, stand on business, but you don't always have to continue a conversation. The loudest person in the room isn't always right. And so just keep that in mind. Sometimes it's best to be just, sometimes it's best just to listen and wait. So finally, then, or not finally, sorry, we're not done yet. We have Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus. This could bring shocking announcements, shocking news, shocking mail, emails, text, like all kinds of communication, particularly around money, agriculture, technology, or banking. Any of those are really like the things that I think that this communication or announcements will be about. Like even the stock market. Um, it's a good idea to double check any important decisions and to really stay flexible. Uranus, when you're dealing with Uranus, because it's so unpredictable, it's best just to stay loose. Okay. I kind of think of this aspect as kind of like moving in a car, like that's in an accident sometimes, or maybe not even like in an accident. Like, maybe this is like such a bad, like, example to give, but I'm going to give it anyway. Drunk drivers. A lot of times, drunk drivers come out of car accidents okay because they're already so loose. They're flexible. And so, have that same kind of general energy. Do not drink and drive, but have that same kind of energy when we have May 24th come around with Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus, as well as the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So, like starting from the full moon in Scorpio to the end of the month, the key word is going to be flexible, be open to change, be open to getting outside of your comfort zone, be open to networking, all of those things. and expect the unexpected. And because definitely, I think we're going to see some unexpected information might change or might change your course or reroute you. Um, the main event that I have been talking about in for I think like the past like 2 months is finally here. Saturn moves into Aries. It dips into Aries. It's not going to stay in Aries. It'll move back into Pisces later this year, and it'll stay in Aries and be done completely with Pisces in March of 2026. And so, for those of you that are going through your Saturn return in Pisces right now, you're getting a little bit of a breather. For those of you that have Saturn in Aries, you're getting a little taste of your Saturn return during this time. So, I definitely pay attention. For those of you that are getting a little break because you have Saturn in Pisces, I definitely take stock of how far you've come and where you still have to build. We have and so we have that Saturn dip into Aries, and the energy definitely gets a bit more serious. Saturn in Aries, like, it brings challenges. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It challenges us to take responsibility for our actions, impulses, and even like how we lead. It's not just about moving fast, it's about moving with purpose and intent, as well as integrity. So this might also highlight issues with authority or selfishness on a collective level, like greed as well, with all the Taurus kind of things going on, especially like how money is being moved or like juggled here. um, then we kind of get a not a breath of fresh air when we see Mercury enter into its home sign of Gemini on May 26th. So this is bringing a fresh new energy as well. And so we're speeding up a little bit from, as far as pace when we saw Mercury in Taurus. So when Mercury goes into Gemini, our minds quicken. Ideas are just bouncing around. It's a great time to bounce ideas off of other people, network, you know, learning new things. Conversations and like just chattiness are off the charts. And conversations really flow a lot better and faster when we see Mercury in Gemini. Expect a lot of news coverage and like a lot of like just announcements during this time for sure, since Gemini is usually like news media and things like that. So it's a great time to learn, to write, speak, or connect with others. Just watch out for information overload, especially with a busy new moon right around the corner. In fact, it's the next day. And so that brings us to our last aspect of May, which is going to be the new moon in Gemini. And of course, the new moon in Gemini will have its own video as well with 12 sign horoscopes. Um, with this new moon in Gemini, it's at 6. It's at a degree of 6, which is a Virgo degree, bringing focus on health and communication as well as service. It's going to be ruled by Mercury in Gemini at 2 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. So we've got some undertones of Earth sign energy. So it has a lot of like themes of practicality, finance, and values when it comes to Gemini like things. Um, the new moon makes a supportive sextile with Saturn and Neptune in Aries as well. And so I just want to point that out, because it adds practicality, but it also suggests a blend of structure as well as inspiration. So we've got some duality going on there, especially since the sun enters into Gemini. I did not put that on this PowerPoint. Oh my God. Like, but that shift does happen. Um, I do believe on May 20th, yes. um so yeah, expect news about public health funding for the healthcare system or healthcare in general, or shifts in the service industries. With this new moon, we can see it's a perfect setting for intentions, for like learning, organizing, and speaking your truth. So I'd say that that May as a month is like its affirmation is really standing on business. And so yeah, I I just really want to nail that in, like to everybody watching this video right now. There's a lot of communication and shifts that are going. We start off May very slow and we kind of ease into things. The beginning of May feels very love bomby to me, whether it be coming from friends or it comes from actual like romantic partners. People are very quick to commit with a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning of May. And towards the end of May, you start to see people kind of waver in that certainty. And so just kind of go with the punches, go with the punches, go with the flow. I don't want anybody to get sidetracked. And so just kind of, like I said, remain flexible, but definitely stand on the things that matter. Be very discerning about what matters as far as standing your ground on. Um, so yeah, with that being said, May gives us a lot of deep emotional clarity, surprising changes, and a chance to plant seeds that align with our evolving values and ideas. But other than that, that is everything that we have. If this forecast gave you any insight, go ahead and like the video. If it helps others, because it helps others find this video as well. Any kind of interaction with the videos on this channel helps to get it out there to the algorithm. Drop a comment below and let me know how May is showing up in your chart, and if you want to stay tapped in with the cosmic tea every month that I am constantly serving you a deluge of tea. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this with a friend who's also asking what's going on with those planets, and wanting to blame the planets just as much as I do, because now you'll know exactly what to say. Um, but yeah, other than that, guys, I know that I joke around a lot in these videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments as well. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.